Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Mark Salino, CEO and founder of Statement Games Inc., back for another episode of Making Picks. Today is Friday, March the 11th. It's been a busy past couple weeks. I'm joined by George Cursor, who's back for a second week in a row. A lot of things to kind of cover in a short amount of time that we're going to try and get to everything. So, let's kick things off. George, how's it going today?
Good afternoon, Mark. How are you today? Pretty nice day where I'm at in Connecticut. We got the conference games on, so looking forward to spring here. It's right around the corner now. And
Yeah.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what? I sound like a broken record, but these weeks definitely not gonna fly by. Here we are in March. I kind of feel like I was just at a New Year's Eve party the other day, and you and I have this running joke, and we always used to get a kick out of how calls used to bust Mike Francesa's chops over at WFAN
Hmm.
by kind of, wishing him a happy New Year well past New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So I think the cutoff was like around Valentine's Day before he would start getting pissed off. Is that what you're kind of like you're remembering as well?
Yeah. In normal society, I think if you're saying Happy New Year's beyond the week of New Year's, you probably get some weird looks. But in Francesa's world, it was probably pretty normal to get it up till Valentine's Day. But I think a couple of guys would use the caveat, hey, Mike, I haven't talked to you in a while. Happy New Year. I think they use that as an excuse to get the Happy New Year joke in there. But I think right around the time of where we are now, St. Patrick's Day, March Madness, Daylight Savings, if you went beyond that, you might have got hung up on, depending on what mood Mike was in. And later during his tenure, he wasn't always in the greatest mood, but I always got a kick out of it. Guys trying to say Happy New Year's in March. Sounds ridiculous, but on his show, it kind of
Classic.
fit. Yeah.
Classic. Well, look, we got a lot of stuff to kind of get through, so let's just go ahead and dive kind of right into it. Basically, with the show here, I do like to give a little bit of an update on what's going on with Statement Games as a business. So we've made tremendous progress over the past couple of weeks here. Make a long story short, we've pretty much completed the process of automating our NFL product. So moving forward, starting with the 2022 season, um, you can kind of expect the ability to play all NFL games that's scheduled over the course of a day or a week, as opposed to just nationally televised games. So, of course, we've productized that. So, any partner that we're actually working with here does have the ability to select the NFL service from within the Statement Games admin tool. And in doing so, they basically have the ability to run a full slate of NFL games underneath their own logos, marks, or basically kind of like an umbrella. So when I'm referring to automation, it's basically having our back end system create contests or games or tournaments pretty much like on the fly or with very limited manual effort that's required of a Statement Games kind of like admin, having the markets for those games be populated with anywhere between. Actually, I think we're going to be going up here. So it's going to probably be anywhere between, I'd say, 60 to 85 different statements that are associated with a sporting event. That's the market that we're kind of like creating. And of course, having the scoring basically be done automatically as well. So hopefully, or basically by next season or next kind of like September, from an NFL perspective, no more waiting until the following day for your scores or your results to finally be updated kind of like within the system. It's a lot faster, a lot more robust, and it's something that we've worked extremely kind of hard on, and we'll be pushing that out. Long story shorter, I was definitely hopeful that we could have gotten this process done prior to the 1st of January. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's the end of the world that we're a couple of weeks. We're basically about like 8 weeks kind of behind kind of schedule. So that's what we're looking at from a gaming perspective. The only thing that's left for us to do is to actually test these processes and systems out kind of in real time. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that until there's NFL games. So very quickly, it's already started, but we're migrating over to a process to cleaning up the NBA product. And I definitely expect the team's ability to test that out in a very robust way. We'll make some announcements on this podcast as well as on our social media connectional channels in the upcoming weeks, in case anybody wants to jump in and help out. But long story shorter, that's kind of like what we got from a Statement Games business perspective. I just will kind of like throw a little caveat. We did allude to it last week. I'll be making some more announcements coming up here, but we've already pre-sold the NFL product to two different kind of services. So you can expect some upcoming announcements with regards to who will be taking possession of the Statement Games game underneath their own branding guidelines and umbrella, in addition to Sportso's, Statement Games, so on and so forth. But that's pretty much it here. Let me know if you think I'm kind of like missing anything, or if I need to expand on anything kind of further. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I want the show to be a little bit more entertaining. But I would actually be remiss if I didn't give the people who are checking this show out here just a little bit of an update on what we're working on from a business perspective and the progress that we're making.
Yeah, Mark, I think all the users and the folks that are playing Statement Games, things are going to be really well positioned for the NFL kickoff, and it's going to be exciting. Real-time scoring is going to be fantastic, and I think everyone's going to have a positive experience and make playing the game a lot more enticing for everybody.
And I will just kind of add one additional caveat to that here, because it's something that I know that, in our very early days, it was individuals like you that would get kind of frustrated with this. But from our perspective, there's nothing more frustrating than joining a NFL contest and having the ability to make a pick for or against the player when you know that he's hurt, injured, or not going to be playing kind of that day.
Mm-hmm.
So from a system kind of perspective, of course, we're always doing our best to get games published and out into the marketplace as soon as we possibly can. But hey, you know what? Wednesday, Thursday, kind of going to practice, injuries linger, or things kind of going to come up here. And sometimes, what we actually set correctly from a line perspective on Monday or Tuesday might not necessarily be relevant, leading into Saturday night, Sunday morning. So as part of this automation process, there's some things that are taking place here, and where if the system recognizes that a player is injured or suspended or doesn't have a reasonable opportunity to play that game, that prediction will be swapped out with his backup kind of player. If that kind of makes sense. And from a gaming perspective, let's just say you had joined a contest on Wednesday, you selected that player who was going to be hurt, but didn't necessarily make the adjustment or revise your picks on Saturday night or Sunday morning. The system will automatically replace your pick with a player that is going to be playing. So instead of taking a 0 for the pick, at least you have a opportunity to hit that correct if you don't necessarily make the adjustment or change your pick here. So it's definitely playing a little bit more on the best ball type of scenario or theory. I'll have to kind of see how that whole situation plays out for the other leagues, but that's my 2 cents here. That's what we've been working on. That's what we've actually made progress with over the course of the last 2 weeks. So with that said, I mean, we're coming off of a fairly intense past couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, you and I had pretty much toured Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
We hit 4 different sports card shows and sports memorabilia shows. Last week, we were in Philadelphia at the Philly kind of show. So our plan from a business perspective is to kind of start introducing Statement Games as a marketing system to various different dealers, auction houses, trade show kind of organizer, and showing them how the game can be utilized as a fan engagement tool. It can help them build out their bid databases, and then also as a way to utilize that data through some very simple email marketing programs and things like that to stay in front of customers that, maybe attended your show or had an opportunity to, buy some of your products and services, or maybe it's people who are interested in your stuff here, but didn't necessarily have the means to buy from you right then and there. It's just a way for you to kind of stay in touch with them through a different form of fantasy sports. So with that in mind, look, we hit it pretty kind of hard. I think it's very reasonable to say that we definitely kind of walked away with close to, I'd say, between 60 and 70 different leads for the Statement Game service or solution over the course of a 2-week kind of span with the people that you're interacting kind of with. And the little story that we were going ahead and telling. Any major takeaways or thoughts or comments that you walked away from, whether it be at Mohegan Sun or at the Philly show? What we were all kind of thoughts on what we're doing from a business perspective, which is the business of white labeling the Statement Game solution. Some of the challenges that you were exposed to once we've had an opportunity to have some conversations with these guys, and how you kind of see the Statement Games product being a solution to some of their challenges, whether it be now or at some point in the future.
Yeah, two big takeaways was, number one, how well attended the Philly show was. Mark, when we walked in there, we got there early, and there were people waiting online to get in. It seems that COVID is behind us. No one's really worried about masks or health concerns. There was people kicking the door down to get in. And I think at one point I talked to somebody. I said, "What do you think? There's at least 1,000 people coming through the door?" And he said, "No, I think more like 3 or 4." And the sea of humanity, I felt like I was at Disney World, Mark, for a couple of minutes there. And keep in mind, this was Saturday. The show started on Friday. And some of the dealers that you and I talked to said Friday was probably about 75% of what Saturday was. So Friday was a busy day, and I'm sure Sunday was a busy day. And this Philly show, we had some marquee names there. I mean, you had Mike Schmidt, you had Steve Carlton, you had, I think, was Pete Rose there?
Pete Rose was there, yeah, at the Philly show.
You had name the Philly, Ryan Howard, any Philly that these are the best players in the history of the franchise. And then the next day you had a bunch of Eagles there. I think was Don. I don't know if Donovan was there, but I know Westbrook was there. There was a lot of current Eagles there, and this is Philadelphia, tough sports town. But the point is, a lot of foot traffic, plenty of foot traffic. The other thing that I took away is there's a lot of money flying around. This is an economy that seems like it is not affected by inflation or a recession or whatever the economic conditions are. And I know it's changing really quickly with a lot of things going on in the world. But I pulled up to a table, was talking to a guy that you and I talked to together later on in the day. And I just saw a kid pull out $800 out of his pocket, 8 $100 bills.
Hold on. How old do you think this kid was? Are we talking about like
he might have been in his 20s. He might have been in his 20s. But the point was, he just whipped out cash. The transaction, Mark, was 30 seconds. He's like, "I see this card. I like this card. Here's my $800. Boom, boom." The transaction was 60 seconds. And the dealer was used to that type of stuff. He was ready. It was second nature to him. So the two big takeaways that I got was that these conferences are well attended, and there's a lot of money flying around these shows. And the third and last takeaway I would say is that what Statement Games is trying to provide a service. I don't think we're really competing with anyone else right now. It's a buy and sell venue, and what we're doing is we're kind of offering a different type of service to the dealers and to the show organizers. So there's definitely some value. There's a way for customers to engage with dealers when they're not physically at the show. So I think it's a good fit. And I think that, 2 years ago, before the pandemic, going to card shows was not something that I thought I would ever be doing. But now that I see what's going on, whether it be at a big casino up in Mohegan Sun or a major city in the United States like Philadelphia, there's people there and there's money being spent. And it's an interesting phenomenon just from the perspective of, an observation. Just like the amount of people going in there is crazy. Mark, when we left, there were people still coming in, and there was people coming the next day. And we know there's a big show down in D.C. in a couple of weeks. There's shows in Boston. Obviously, you have Atlantic City. You could go to a show every weekend from the rest of the year and not hit them all.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I have it up on my screen right now. It looks like the next show in Philadelphia will be taking place on the 23rd and 25th of September, so we have some time for that. But
last week when we were in Mohegan Sun, everybody was saying how great Philly was. We heard that a couple times in Mohegan Sun and also in Stanford. And going in, my expectations are pretty high because everyone spoke very highly of the show. And I think it exceeded my expectations. The quality of product that was there. I mean, Ozzie Smith was there. You had Mark. We had multiple Hall of Famers at this show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like, very compelling in how these guys utilize athletes as an engagement tool to bring them into the show. Obviously, it works. I definitely feel that it's still kind of like a little pricey to get the autographs of these individuals, but like you alluded to before here, people just handing over, we're not talking about 5, 10, 15, $20 here. We're talking about like, hundreds of dollars just for a 15, 20-second kind of like interaction with kind of like an athlete. And of course, we were in Philadelphia last week. One of the biggest takeaways that I kind of took there was the one that we were actually at in Stamford, Connecticut. I mean, at that show, we weren't talking about, Ozzie Smith or Mike Schmidt or Steve Carlton or Pete Rose or some of like the all-time kind of great athletes. And I don't necessarily mean this in a very disparaging kind of in a way here, but at the show up in kind of Stanford, the day that we actually attended, I think the biggest draws there were guys like Todd Zeal and Ruben Sierra. Now,
and Ruben was actually in Philly too. So if you didn't get
he wasn't Philly. Yeah,
you didn't get him in Stanford. You got him down in
again.
Philly.
It's not like a comparison between Mike Schmidt and Ruben Sierra. Great ball player. Loved him with the Rangers. Tremendous power. I wish he would have been, a Yankee a little bit more. But hey, you know what? Things kind of like worked out for the Yankees. So
yeah,
I guess you can't really be too upset that he didn't necessarily pick a ring. But hey, you know what? Great. It's like he played 1 or 2 years, long kind of career with the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the takeaways that I took was the lines of young kids, and just long lines in general, for that interaction with guys like Todd Zeal and Ruben Sierra. It's not like these individuals retired from the game of baseball 2 years ago or 3 years ago. They've been out of the game for a while. But to see how guys like that draw and stimulate that type of engagement and how the Statement Games process could basically, automate that whole process for some of these dealers is something that I'm, really excited about from a business perspective. Because if you think about it, you go, you buy your ticket, you get your ticket to, get you kind of your autograph, but then they also kind of ask you to fill out your first name, your last name, and your email address so that you can kind of, stay on top of what other athletes and things are going to be coming up through the events like that. So just showing these guys how Statement Games could automate that whole entire process for them by simply getting people to play a couple of different games. And hey, look, these guys have access to tons of, rewards and product and things like that. I think we've proven out as a business and where you don't necessarily need to come to the table all the time with cash to drive kind of engagement. An autograph from Ruben Sierra will do just as well as, a $25 or $50 kind of cash gift card from Amazon or anything like that. So that was the one kind of takeaway that I kind of had. The other one that I kind of thought was like you alluded to was how much money in this. Now, we're teaching people how to engage people, set up systems, and interact with people. And I pretty much do the same thing here. So at the show here, I wound up kind of picking up a Ricky Henderson kind of rookie card. I've officially kind of completed my 1980 top set. I will be putting together marketing kind of campaigns from the data that I've captured through the Statement Game system on possible targets for this product that I was able to kind of put together. And I've shown how in years past I'll be able to kind of move that product pretty quick. The other thing that I kind of got, and I guess I kind of segue into just general overall sports gaming kind of updates and gaming kind of updates, is from a crypto perspective. I was actually at a dealer in the Philadelphia show. I want to say it was a vintage card. It was either I think it was either like the 56, 57, or 58, but it was a Mickey Mantle kind of card. It was graded kind of PSA, and the individual who was interacting with the dealer was I would want to say in between like my age, between that 40 and 45 kind of ish range. And he didn't. I think the price tag of the card. Well, let's just for argument's sake say there was like $2,000. he was asking the dealer, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily have the cash on me to pay for this card. However, would you actually take Ethereum? He was actually looking to complete the transaction through some type of crypto kind of currency. And I was fascinated. Now the dealer, I think he was going to do something on the side with the consumer, but I was just fascinated with the whole kind of topic on how people are coming to these shows looking to engage and purchase product utilizing crypto. And when the individual had left, I was having a conversation with a dealer who actually mentioned how he was talking to one of the casino managers. The Philly show was at the Valley Forge Casino, so we were actually in a casino. He was talking to a casino manager on how these types of transaction are something that they're looking to accommodate towards, especially I'd say between that 25 to 45-year-old male demographic, especially when they sit down at a craps table or blackjack table or roulette table, basically giving them the ability to purchase chips utilizing crypto. So I thought that whole aspect of NFTs and cryptos. We've talked about how we can work it into various different services into statement games, but actually kind of to see it firsthand starting to make its way into the gaming and sports gaming kind of vertical or collectibles kind of vertical was something that actually fascinated me as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, crypto by the day seems like it's becoming more and more mainstream. And yeah, you and I have talked about this before. I think there's a lot of overlap between the investment world, the cryptocurrency world, the collectibles world, the NFTs. It all's kind of merging. But yeah, and I think that the dealers who are pretty savvy, right? They know the market, they know what cards are worth, and I think they should be prepared to accept these type of opportunities because they're not going to be slowing down. There's just going to be more of them. So the more versed and agile the dealer is, the more advantage he has because hey, he could have made that sale if he was set up to accept that payment. So yeah, it's just observation, Mark. I mean, we'll probably look back at this in a couple of years and say, wow, this guy really probably maybe he should have taken that opportunity.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's whether he should have taken it or not. I'm just not sure if he actually had the means to take
Yeah.
it. I think he was kind of intrigued by it.
Yeah.
But as we continue to transact on whatever it is, sports collectibles, or I don't know, maybe it's gas. I mean, I think these types of things are things that you need to keep an eye on because whether you like it or agree with it or disagree with it here, it's going to be present in your life in some way.
The market has already decided. The decision's been made. Whether you like it or not doesn't really matter. Your emotions don't matter. The market has decided. So to be set up is probably the way to be prepared, right?
I mean, you're an entrepreneur and an investor and things like that. Have you dabbled into the crypto world yet in terms of purchasing a token or a coin or anything like that? Are you currently holding anything in your portfolio?
I am not. Sadly to say, I'm not. I believe in it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I was talking to someone earlier today that, I think everybody should probably have exposure to cryptocurrency, myself included. I think as of today, March 11th, I think some of the major species of crypto are down. So, yeah, I mean, the wind is blowing that way, Mark, So to answer your question, no, I don't. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I need to get involved. And I will be at some point. But yeah, I mean, the guys that are involved in it now, I think have a huge advantage. And as we just tie it back up to the collectibles market, I think the savvy dealers out there are finding a way to make that transaction happen.
Nice. Makes sense here. Just from an overall kind of gaming perspective, obviously there's some pretty big news that out there with obviously Roger staying in Green Bay, Russell Wilson making his way over to Denver, and let's just kind of touch upon a Denver perspective. Now, I don't think there's anything that's come out yet. I don't think anything concrete or definitive will come out until after the initial combine and the NFL draft. But from a Denver kind of perspective, with the move of Russell Wilson coming over to Denver, are you more inclined or less inclined to be taking a peek at some type of future bet with the Denver Broncos? And if so, what do you think that futures bet would look like? Is it something along the lines of Denver kind of like, now, over 9.5 kind of like, wins for the year? Are they, in your opinion, Super Bowl contenders? Overall thoughts on Wilson moving over to Denver?
Well, I think he's got a really good skill set, a set of skill players.
Obviously, a lot of good quarterbacks in that division, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well, I'll just say from his own team, he's walking into a pretty talented group of receivers: Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, all really good players, and their running back Javonte Williams is a really good player. Yeah. To your point, I mean, Mark, how can we say this is not the most competitive division, arguably in the NFL? With Herbert, with Patrick Mahomes, with even Oakland is a playoff team. They got a new coach now. It's a very tough environment, and Russell Wilson's a great player. I don't know if there was always that conversation, let Russ cook. I felt like Pete Carroll would not let Russell Wilson take the restrictor plate off. So, yeah, I think he has a really good opportunity to win a lot of games, but it's a competitive division. Like, dude, you're playing Kansas City twice a year. You're playing LA Chargers twice a year. And the Oakland is not a rollover team. And the AFC in general is you got to play Buffalo. You got to play the Bengals. So, yeah, I mean, I would say he's in the mix. I don't think that him coming into Denver, I don't know, Mark. Let me kick it to you. Who's the favorite to win that division? I'd probably still say Kansas City.
I think, yeah. I mean, until somebody kind of knocks them off a little bit more consistently, it's got to be Kansas City. But if we put a line, I'm just guessing here, but I'm thinking that with Wilson, that's got to jump up to like 8.5, 9.5. I'm leaning a little bit more towards 9.5. I still think it's a little too rich for me, given the competition in the division. And look, it's only March 11th, kind of right now. But if you have to kind of pick one or the other, Denver Broncos over or under 9.5 wins for the 2022 season. Which way are you leaning towards?
I'd go under.
Okay, fair enough.
9.5 is high. To win 10 games it might be a big ask, but there's a lot of talent on that team. There really is, and I think Russell Wilson's up for it. But like I said, are you going to go 2-0 versus Kansas City and the Chargers? I don't think so.
You basically have to go 3-3 within that division. I mean, the Raiders are a playoff team. Obviously, the Chargers have a pretty talented quarterback behind their steering wheel. So you're facing them twice a year, and then you're still kind of with Mahomes. So
I don't know if the Jets are on the schedule. If they are, then it makes it a lot easier.
Well, being kind of like, I mean, do I call you a Jet fan or
I'm an ex-Jet fan.
On your level of, I guess, on your careness, kind of radar about Jamal Adams? Do you care about how he's forced his way out of the Jets because he didn't necessarily want to play for a team that's rebuilding and now finding himself in a rebuilding situation? Feel bad for him, or hey, you know what? Good riddance. Care about him.
I mean, what has Jamal Adams ever really done in the NFL? In the grand scheme of, is he an impact player? I mean, yeah, he's had a couple of nice games. Would you mention him with Ed Reed or Troy Polamalu or Steve Atwater or Ronnie Lott as someone that could dominate a game? Yeah, here and there. But no, I mean, nice player, athletic player, gifted player. What is he? You know what? If Jamal Adams was that good, Russell Wilson might be staying in Seattle.
Fair enough. And then, obviously, from a Jet kind of perspective, because it's a buzz in the New York kind of area, 2 top draft picks or 2 first-round draft picks that are part of your asset kind of list. DJ Metcalf out in Seattle's only got 1 year left on his contract. Would you give up one of those picks for DJ Metcalf under the condition that you have the ability to sign him to a long-term contract?
Yes. The Jets can't draft anybody. I mean, look at the history. Who has the Jets retained? I mean, we just talked about Jamal. What was he, like a number top 5 pick, top 10 pick.
Yeah.
No confidence in Jet management, no confidence in Jeff continuity. DJ Metcalf, I'm surprised you say that. He's a young player. I mean, the guy's probably still got a good 10 years left
he's
in him.
really
I would give away a pick for a known commodity like Metcalf in a heartbeat. And I think he would be good for the young quarterback. I think that would be, I would do that in a second.
all right. Well,
what would you do? Would you?
I kind of feel that wide receivers are very similar to almost like the running back kind of position. So I would lean a little bit more towards holding on to the asset. I think you could find a wide receiver, and plus it really depends kind of on the price tag. So I would. I mean, look, you're in a good position. You got the assets that you kind of need. I would roll my dice with the guys in the draft and potentially take a crack at them at this time next year when free agency rolls around again.
All right.
But I don't think you can go wrong. But we'll go ahead and see. So that's pretty much what we got for today here. Let's go ahead and close things out. I mean, you got to make a couple different picks here. So, I mean, we have a tomorrow night. Milwaukee Bucks traveling to kind of Golden State. Milwaukee is on a 6-game kind of winning streak here. Golden State's won 2 in a row as well. However, they're only 3-7 in the last 10 games. You're looking at a game that's nationally televised, 8:30 tip-off time on kind of ABC. Let's go ahead and just make a couple different picks. We can always round this out and offline here. But for this game here, it's StatementGames.com. That's what we're choosing to play on. It's free to play. All you basically need is a Google or a Facebook account or some type of valid email address that will bring you right into the lobby. Go ahead and select this contest. Rules are pretty simple. I'm presenting with a list of props that are specific to this NBA game. Probably got like 55 of them, so to speak here. You need to pick 10 of them. As you make your 10 picks, you do need to rank them in order of confidence from 10 through 1. So you can see that you have the ability to drag and drop your pick into the number slot that corresponds with your confidence level. So obviously your number 10 pick is going to be worth 10 points. Your number 1 pick is only worth number 1 point. You'll be playing in a league of anywhere between 8 to 12 people. The person with the most points from correct picks wins. So for this game, I want to make it look a little bit interesting. So here are the rules. I will give away $200 to anybody who can go 10 for 10 with their picks. However, to be an able participant for this giveaway or this contest, you do need to be a subscriber to the Statement Games YouTube channel. We're also on Rumble. You need to be subscribing there or preferably kind of both. And as you become a subscriber, you do need to drop a comment in the comment section below. Your comments needs to follow a very simple but specific format. We need you to drop what your Statement Games username is and what your number 10 pick is. That will actually make you eligible for the $200 giveaway. Think of it as a free scratch or a free kind of lottery ticket. Now, keep in mind that you do have the ability to play in as many contests as you possibly can get your hands on. However, for this contest here, I'm only looking for your first entry. So if you fill out 3 different cards, I'm going to be looking at your timestamps, and I'm only taking your first kind of entry. So make your first kind of entry your best one here. So I mean, George, I mean, I'll let you kind of let me know where you want me to slot this pick in. But I'm just, I'm looking at the Middleton pick. I'm going to take the over 18.5 points. He's averaging about 20 points a game. So the system's kind of giving me about a point and a half kind of break off of his average. I feel pretty confident in locking that into the number 10 selection here. Nationally televised game. I believe that the Golden State defense will be, skewing a little bit more towards Giannis, which I just kind of feel gives a little bit more of an opportunity for Middleton to kind of put up some points. Like I said here, I'm getting a point and a half kind of break with this pick here. So I'm going to lock in Chris Middleton over 18.5 points. You let me know if you think I should leave that in the 10 slot or if you think that should be either drop down to a different slot? And if so, what number do you want me to lock it in at?
No, I think that you've got a pretty good lens into the situation, and that makes a lot of sense. I'll give you one pick on this game, and that's related to Jordan Poole. I think the line is, Mark, if unless I'm mistaken, his over-under is 20.5 points.
Correct. Yep.
And in his last 10 games, he's averaging 17.8 points. So that's under. Versus the opponent, it is a small sample size. The Warriors and the Bucks have only played each other once, but in that game, he has only had 9 points. So his last 10 games, he's under. Versus the opponent, he's way under. And at home, 31 home. Well, I don't know if it's 30. It's 31 home games, I would imagine, right? If that the splits 31 home games, his average. Jordan Poole's average is 16.3. So he's under in all three of those metrics, right? Last 10 versus Milwaukee and at home, he's under. So I'm going to take Jordan Poole under 20.5 points tonight.
You know, it's some pretty good points here. I'm just going to drop that in. I'm going to move that up. I'm going to make that our number 10 pick here. We'll make the remaining 8 picks, offline just to give us some type of competitive advantage. I'm playing under, or this card is being filled out under, it's going to be the username Founder. So if you see kind of Founder, kind of like the picks, just know that this is going to be, Marc and George's card. Let me know, or let us know in the comment section below if any questions or if any questions or ideas or thoughts can come up here. But other than that, that's a wrap, and hopefully we'll be back next week. We usually record on a Friday, so we'll be at least one full day into the NCAA tournament. Maybe we'll talk a little, college hoops from a gaming and from a picking perspective.
That'd be great. Thanks for having me, Mark.
All right, guys. I'll catch you later. Take care now.